All right. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Dan here with Lou. And we're here to celebrate 50 years of Rush. That in itself is a rush. We're happy to take comments. We're each going to show a clip of us playing one of our favorite songs, and we'll break it down a little bit. Let us know what your favorite songs are. Feel free to drop in links to clips of you playing Rush, whether it's on drums or even bass guitar, keyboards, saxophone. There's that one song with the accordion, of course, electric violin here and there, piano, and I think there was a song with a Meridi Dangum, if I remember right. Lou, how you doing?
Good. How's everything there?
Great. This is I'm real excited about this. You know, we're huge Rush fans. For those who don't know, Lou Caldarola is the drummer for the longest running Rush tribute band called Limelight. And so he's got a pretty deep knowledge of Rush. I feel I do too, being a fan since 1976 and having seen them only, and I say only because I know people that have seen them a lot more than me. I think 16 times. I have a friend that's seen them 64 times, and he's only a year older than me. So it's not like he saw them, you know, when on opening night tonight or something. But it's interesting. They opened on St. Patrick's Day, huh?
Yeah.
Opened, started. Yeah, officially.
Yeah, 50 years of Rush albums. 50 years of some incredible music. It's just amazing.
If you had to narrow down one album, not by era, not by decade, not by anything, just one album, what's the album that you think? Two questions. What's your favorite, and which album do you think best encapsulates everything Rush? And it might not be the same answer. That's why I asked the two questions separately. And for our audience as well, chime in.
Yeah, that's a good one. I guess, just if I'd have to go for my first initial top of the head favorite, really, I would probably go Hemispheres for my personal favorite, though. It's almost a split question. It's kind of like Hemispheres I always would go is my go-to first, but how do you not acknowledge Moving Pictures, because it's basically a perfect album. It's like,
and they all agree too, that the three of them have said that, and that's mine too. If I had to pick just one Rush album to play all day on a loop, it would be Hemi for sure. I just love that.
The second part, though, like you're saying, that like an album that I would almost say
Permanent Waves even is close, I think.
Yeah, right. There's like, if I was picking something to sort of try and show the overall of Rush, though, I almost might have to lean towards maybe Exit Stage Left, because I
didn't even think of live albums. That's smart.
Fair, right?
Yeah, that's smart. I didn't even think of live, but you're right. Yeah.
Any good answer. I mean, how do I not mention All the World's a Stage too? I mean, I almost want to say All the World's a Stage I like better as a live album than Exit Stage Left, but Exit Stage Left shows more of their history because it was some years later.
Growth, musical growth as well, musically, lyrically, and it's sort of a huge leap from that first live album to the second, because they grew so much musically. But All the World's a Stage was my first Rush album. I've always almost always bought live albums first of a band to really kind of hear what they really sound like, and then there's been times where I would buy a live album and then buy the studio album and go, what the heck is that? Because there's such a big difference for many reasons. It could be personnel change or just a difference between the live version and the original studio version. But yeah, that's neat. Great answers. And let us know in the comments as well. I should open the comments so I could see them, just in case anyone has any input on Rush. Anybody? Bueller? So what we're doing today, and tell us where you're watching from too. What we're doing today is we each have a clip, because we could talk about Rush all day, and we could play clips of them, of us, or our fan, but we decided, let's just have a normal up to an hour-long show at the most, talk about Rush, play a clip of each of us playing one of our favorite songs, and explain why we chose it and maybe even break it down a little bit. So we're going to go with Lou first, so that rather than me kind of scaring people away in the beginning with it being kind of like, instead you'll get the good stuff first, and then it'll fizzle out. Lou's recording's great. Go ahead and talk about this song, and then I'll bring it up.
Yeah, so this is fun. It was a little different, and then as far as making the choices, I mean, this definitely is one of my favorite for classic early Rush stuff.
But I didn't expect, to be honest with you. I don't know why it didn't occur to me till you told me the song, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, right. And so that was, part of it was, though, our choice, because for those of you guys that have seen us here on the episodes before, this isn't the first time we've mentioned Neil.
Right.
So I also wanted to go. Dan and I have always tried to always bring new things to the episodes here. So I didn't want to cover a song that I'd already done on one of the previous episodes. So I was like, well, what's a really fun Rush song that really, gets me going as far as the drum parts, and then wanted to pick something that also talks about the whole era. So obviously we're celebrating 50 years of Rush. Neil making his debut on the second album with Fly By Night. So what I did here is my band and I with Limelight, we are honored to be on Songs for Neil coming out, Volume 5 coming out this fall. And we were gathering to do a fun track, and we chose off of Fly By Night, Neil's debut, Best I Can. And one of the interesting things that I really enjoyed about this was it's Neil, right? And it's his style. I mean, Neil is always Neil, but in that early era, why I also chose this is I'm a huge fan of also Keith Moon, and you can really hear on a lot of the Fly By Night stuff Neil's influence in Keith as well, where some of the fills in particular in this song are very Keith Moon, almost that flailing, where Neil, as he evolved, his fills became much more precise and planned, where some of Keith's almost random.
Yeah, great. Well, this is it's also a really good recording sonically. Check this out. I really dig this. Check it out, folks. That was cool. I had the controls were showing because our producer Steve was saying that he thought the volume was a little low, so I went to the player and clicked the volume to check it, and I didn't notice that the volume was just staying there all the way till I clicked it again. Sorry about that, but that was awesome. The recording's great. I mean, I you could pass that off as a bootleg, and the guitar solo is exactly the same sound, exactly.
Kudos to Eric Strom. Yeah, Eric.
Yeah.
Eric's our sound, sound expert with the stuff. He's, the guitar player there. We usually, when we're doing mixes and things, we usually put those things in his hands because he's really great at recreating, the getting the accurate sounds and making things sound like, yeah, when they first sent me the tracks before we had Rob do the vocals, I was like, are you did you guys send me just the Rush track? And then even with some of Rob's vocals, it's like there's some words and lines. It's like, okay, I could tell that's us. But I gotta say, kudos to the guys for doing a great track.
Yeah, you too. It really sounds good. That's my I love that song. It's my second favorite song on that album. And my first favorite song on that album, I was thinking of doing, but when I found out you're going to do that song, I thought, okay, I'll do something from a different era. And I played probably my favorite Rush song to play. It's not the best rendition of it, folks. Give the old guy a break. But Beneath, Between, and Behind, I just love that song that kicks so much butt on every instrument. Just love that. Before we go to mine, but let's go through a couple comments first. Wilson Cruz thanks. He said, Permanent Waves is the best album tied with Moving Pictures, but Permanent Waves make it because of Spirit of the Radio. Oh, wait, Moving Pictures has YYZ. Hard to answer. But even the better thing is that it's all about favorites as opposed to best because it's so subjective. But yeah, it seems like those two albums so far are the ones that seem to be the most well-rounded and fan favorites as well. We got Gabriel watching, who's jamming, apparently, which is really cool. Now here's this is a big comment, so let's see. It's going to take up a bunch of space, but that's all right. Oh, it fit perfectly. I'm not sure exactly where this came from, and this is Ken Wilson, but I remember Neil Peart using the word music as an acronym for make up something interesting and complimentary. I don't know if I remember that. I love that. This is such a wonderful idea, which he truly exemplified. It can be easy to come up with a part that's cool or complicated. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the song. If our part doesn't complement the music, then what are we doing? That's such a great point, and it reminds me of something Brian Tichy said on Drum Talk TV once when we were talking about the topic of playing for the song. And some people think that that means you can't do any fills, you can't have any off time, you can't be flashy. But like Brian said, well, Neil played for the song in La Villa Strangiato. And then I chimed in and said, well, Carl played for the song in Tarkus. So that the way you put it there, Ken, is perfect. It's really cool. Yeah, and then I'll throw this question from Steven to you first, Lou. Steve says, what do you think of the debut album and how different it is from the others?
Ooh, yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, it's funny. Like we were just, I was together with the guys in Limelight last week, getting ready we're starting to kick off our spring shows soon. And we pulled back a few things from the first album that we haven't played in a while, and Fly By Night as well. And yeah, even just those two albums next to each other, quite a difference. But yeah, I still really love the first album. Yeah, very different, right? I mean, their writing style changed. You could see little hints of that writing style on Fly By Night as they were turning things over to giving Neil the lyric duties and starting to expand a little. But I mean, Finding My Way and, Working Man, of course. I mean, just such amazing, crunchy, hard rock riffs. Maybe not prog Rush yet, but still amazing hard rock tunes and just really good fun stuff.
Yeah, that's such an interesting question, Steve, and I'd love to know your thoughts. My thoughts are I agree with everything you just said, Lou, as far as it being crunchy and real hard rock. We have to also remember regarding the production. This is back in the Stone Ages. This is a bit archaic compared to the next few albums, but for
Yeah.
me, I think they went from very um, blue collar sound and audience to more professorial, not just because that was Neil's nickname, but really they got cerebral.
Yeah.
They put on lab coats at some point and really like dug in deep, and some astrophysicism, tide pools. You all know what we're talking about. There's not a lot of love songs, and after the first album, I don't think the word baby was ever used again, other than live on In the Mood on All the World's a Stage. And that's it, I think, right?
Yeah, that's so fun though. Like really, and even like we were talking those differences between the two. Like as I mentioned with Best I Can, a lot of those fills that he does in Best I Can, there, it reminds me of the earlier rock, and like you hear his like Keith Moon influence, where we think of so many of Neil's fills as being so like almost planned and precise, where a lot of the stuff in Best I Can was so Mooney, just digging, like everywhere, all over the place, and that was fun to play that track. And it's like as we were starting to do the tracking, I'm like, wow, it's neat because it's like two of my main heroes kind of crashing together in one song with that Moon style, but it's Neil. But it's just neat to see, like, you don't find a lot of Rush songs later on where his fills were that
Loose. I'll use the term loose and sort of more have air in them, if you will. And you did a fill that is the right fill that reminded me that the song I remember it from the most, and it's used in another song besides the one I'm going to mention that'll come to me, that I forget it was first used in this song, was that from By Tor and the Snow Dog. It's in that, right? And it's also in let me think for a sec. I think during one of the guitar solos in Hemispheres.
Yeah, I think maybe. Yeah, because
I think the second one with the long slide pick slides, and I think it's in that. Yeah, it's that. Blah, 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 blah. There's another one on Power Windows, which is, I wonder if it's in the song I'm going to play. I don't even remember now. See, let's see. So we're fast forwarding to the Power Windows. In my opinion, so why did I play it? If this is what I'm going to say, in my opinion, Power Windows, if you took one album that had the most challenging drumming and songs to play to, I think it's Power Windows. I really do. If you look at Marathon, if you look at oh my God, the Manhattan Project, if you look at the song I like going out on the tight wire and putting myself out there. I'm not chasing any rainbows. I'm comfortable with myself. I'm doing Middletown Dreams. That album has some really challenging drumming and some big ass walls of sound,
right.
some nice melodic runs. So I'm doing Middletown Dreams, and one of the things I love about this as a fan listening and as a drummer playing it is it has a little bit of everything. You've got this big, starts out a little technical, and then it comes way down, and you got the stick click on the rim, and then it just opens up to as big a sound as they could possibly make. And I just love it. And then the chorus has on the upbeat, it's got a little of everything. And I love the guitar solo too. And then it comes way down again. And then after the big outro, after the instrumental part, it comes back down. It's just the synchronicity between Geddy and Neil and Alex kind of laying back during that part. To me, that might be the most well-rounded song. If I had to pick one song, it might be that. And now that I'm saying all this, maybe that's why I like it so much.
And seeing them on that tour, I remember because I also saw them a bunch a little bit before and through all, up and almost until the last tour.
Mhm.
And remember that seeing that tour and just noticing now when he had been incorporating the electronics a little bit, but now on
Yeah,
that tour, they just took on a whole new level. And it's like, my
yeah,
God, he was always Neil, but now it's like he's playing five different parts at once.
yeah, yeah, and they didn't have the orchestra with them. See, it would have been cool if what they did with their last album, with the string section, if they did that for Power Windows, because there is some orchestration on different songs, but live it was not lacking, and I'm playing to a live version from that tour, 84 or 6, I get confused.
That's it. I want to say 86, I think.
I think you're right, and it was not lacking. So here we go. Here's me flailing along to one of my favorite Rush songs. Here we go. Check it out. Is it this one? Here we go. Someone that knows what they're doing, I'll be right with you. And we'll be back. So a weird techie thing is going on here, folks. So Steve texted me and said, just behind the curtain, I'll peel back the curtain. Steve texted me and said, sounds like everything's underwater. And when Lou's clip was playing, he said the drum sounded soft. I'm like, wow, it's blaring and it's like a record quality recording. So he said, listen to it on your phone. So I stepped out of the room. I listened to it, and I don't know why it sounds so weird. We've done this before, so I'm not sure. But yeah, maybe strangely on the archive it'll sound better. That's happened before when we had real bad internet here for a while, and it was choppy, but then the archive was fine. So I don't know, but before the next thing we ever do on Trump Talk TV, we'll check it out. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for bearing with us, folks.
Nice version.
What's that?
A great version of that song there. That was good. So I forgot how many great fills are in the end of that song.
Yeah, I think that's in Philadelphia, I think. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what the deal was with that. Thanks, Steve. So again, I chose that song because it just has a little of everything. So that might be my pick for the most well-rounded Rush song that shows everything. Only thing it doesn't have is acoustic guitar. And
Right. A lot of great parts. I forgot about some of those fills and pieces until watching your clip.
Yeah. And folks, we also love to hear what some of your favorites are, and mention whether or not you're a musician. If you are, what instrument you play. If you have links to clips of you or your band playing them, feel free to drop them in the comments. We're celebrating those three guys and all their amazing music that's really, gosh, not to be cliche, but have stood the time for 50 years. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still, so you put on all these albums and a lot of this music. I mean, it's still, it still sounds so fresh and interesting, and it's amazing. I
Yeah.
love revisiting this stuff. And I actually just finished. I don't know if you've also read it as well, or any of the folks out there, but I just finished the Getty's My Effin' Life book, which was absolutely outstanding. And I thought I fancied myself a bit of a Rush geek there and knew most of everything there was to know. And there was so much to find out that I never knew about in the book. It was so cool.
Yeah, Steve and I both got it, and I listened to the audio version, and what a dummy. Like Steve says, not just those three. I said those three guys, but of course there were other players, not to mention John Rutsey, not just him either, but players that came before while they were still, starting and getting together and everything, which is all in the book. But did you read it or do the audiobook? Because the audiobook is read by Getty.
I the audio book. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. And folks, it's right here. There it is. Get it. It's so good. If you're a Rush fan, it's a must. It really is. Yeah.
And next, on the subject of Neil too, what I've been doing too is that really kind of sparked my interest in how fun the audiobook side of things can be doing. And I'm currently listening to Neil narrating Clockwork Angels, which is really fun.
Oh, wow. I got to get that.
It's
I didn't know there was an audio, but I never even thought to look for that. I wonder if there's one of Ghost Rider. I love that book.
I haven't been able to find other Neil audio books yet, but Kevin Anderson does have the entire Clockwork series on audiobook. And the nice thing is with Clockwork Angels, Neil narrates the whole thing, and it was pretty wild because I mean he gets into character and he's like doing voices, and it's pretty cool.
Oh wow.
And then on Clockwork Lives, I believe it's multiple folks doing different characters, and then Clockwork Destiny is Kevin narrating, but he also has a segment at the end where he reads a lot of the letters and notes that went back and forth between him and Neil when creating the books.
And did Neil read his letters?
I'm sorry?
Did Neil read the letters that were his? Because just like Alex read some of his letters, or not letters, but commented. Like when this, I'll give a little spoiler alert on the audiobook. When Getty refers to something Alex said, Alex reads his own quote, and it's so cool. So that's what I mean. Was Neil reading his letters The
No, this was I think, but I do believe that when Kevin did that audiobook was unfortunately after Neil.
Oh, okay.
So he included that as part of the package of that audiobook.
Okay, and Steve says, I'll put it up on the screen. Steve says, Ghost Rider audiobook is read by Brian Sutherland. And
Ooh,
I
okay.
feel a little naive. I don't know who Brian is. Am I missing something?
I'll have to look for that. And yeah, I've been my some folks in my neighborhood set me up with a local place that does audiobooks out of our library. So that's where I've been getting most of mine from. Maybe they just happen to not have it. So I'll have
Nice.
to look for Ghost Rider though.
Oh, excuse me. That name, I think he's an actor, if I remember right. I'll have to look into that, but I want to get it because I read it when it came out. That was, don't tell me, I was living in Henderson. I just met my wife, so that was like 16, 17 years ago, something like that. Yeah. Oh, he's a singer, actor, singer. Okay. And it might only be on Audible. That maybe that's why you couldn't find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to
Steve
take
said.
see what other Neil stuff might be on Audible though.
Yeah, yeah. Really curious. Um, do you have a favorite tour of all
Ooh,
the times you saw them?
wow. I was fortunate enough to catch them from at the end of the moving pictures tour. They almost did like a pre-signals tour where they did, I think that was right around then, where they did, it was like 6 or 7 nights at Radio City. That was
Oh, yeah.
one of those nights was the first time I ever got to see Rush. And then I saw them every tour up until I did not unfortunately see the Clockwork Angels tour and the last. So I saw them, I was able to go 24 times in the mid of all that. And gosh, wow, what was the first one, of course, that's going to leave the lasting impression. There's like, oh my gosh, I'm in the same building as my hero here. So that one always stands out.
Yeah.
But I really got to say one of the fun ones too. Like there's two runner ups, but yeah, I would have to say the first time I saw them is going to take my vote initially. But on the Presto tour, I saw them in Hartford, and I'm a Primus fan, and Primus was the
Oh, I
opening act.
love that.
And
Yeah.
a lot of folks, it seemed like in my area over here, in the New York, Connecticut area, it seemed like the Hartford area, most people were like, who are these three goofballs opening for Rush? So my cousin and I, we splurged back then and we bought the extra, the expensive tickets, which back then were only about $90. And we were literally second row in front of Getty.
Uh,
So watching the Primus set was fun because it was like two of our favorite bands and being that close. And my cousin and I were really into Primus. So they sort of were like, hey, at least these guys up front know who we are. So, yeah.
yeah, I remember that. That was a good tour. The first tour I saw was the Hemispheres tour, and I saw them in two nights in a row at two different places, two completely different kind of places. People on the West Coast, SoCal especially, will remember. Well, of course, the famous Long Beach Arena was the first night, and the second night I saw them in this really small place called the Swing Auditorium, and it was popular back then for boxing matches, and it was made out of an old airplane hangar. So that's about the size it was. It fit probably 1,500 people, maybe,
That's cool.
whereas the Long Beach Sports Arena probably supported 10,000, 12,000, something like that. So it was two completely different. They didn't have the projections the second night. They didn't have any of the pyro.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
in fact, something I really thought was going to be in his book, and he came close to mentioning it, or did he mention it? No, I don't think he did. Was when I saw him at Long Beach Sports Arena, um, when they played. I'm trying to think of the song that the. Let me think. I'm thinking it through in my head. Bum bam bum 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 bam 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 from Farewell to Kings. What song is that?
Um,
Uh, with that middle section.
That's those riffs. If I'm catching what you were singing, is "Farewell to Kings" the
It
song?
is, yeah, duh. Okay, so there's the opening with the classical guitar, and then when the flash pots go off
Yeah, oh yeah.
on okay, on Getty's side, the skirting that covered the front of the lighting rig caught on fire. And it was smoldering and like and he's like moving away from it, but he's got to sing. So he's like singing a line, and then he's stepping away, and 2 or 3 guys come out with fire extinguishers, but it's like 30 feet up, and they're like, eh, and it just kind of fizzled out, and that was it. But it was a freakish moment being in a room with like 10,000 people, and there might be a freaking fire. So that was kind of trippy. And they didn't use pyro the next night, not because of that, but because it was such a small place and there was no backspace behind the screen for the projector. It was just a whole different gig, but it was really cool. And a friend of mine, Rick Zuccaro, who I played with for years and years and played at our Jump Talk TV 10-year anniversary with me, bass player, he was like in the first or second row, standing room only, pressed against the stage with binoculars. And a few times Getty's looking at him like, why do you have binoculars? You're right there. But he does have photos of Getty where a few times his fingers were bleeding, like there's blood all over his pick guard and everything like that. So that was 1978, somewhere in 1978.
Yeah. Did you curious, like over the years, when they started venturing off and doing a couple other things here and there, did you ever see anybody in Rush in something other than Rush?
Other than their solo albums, okay, I saw not live, no, but on video.
Mhm.
Neil with the Buddy Rich tribute.
Yeah, I went
Getty.
to one of those live here in New York. I saw that, and that was the one and only time I got to say a brief hello to him, and it was unexpected. Like, I didn't know it was going to happen, and basically all I was able to get out was great show. So we were leaving, my friends and I, after the show, and there was Ritz in New York City, so where we had parked, we had to walk around the block behind the building, and it just happened to be as many of the artists were leaving, and we caught Neil coming out and getting into a cab, and he stopped and said a quick hello. And one of the cool stories, which I like to tell there, is because some folks, he was always known for being a little shy, but not unfriendly. I mean, he did stop and give us all the hello and a happy nod, and got in his cab and drove away. About 3 younger kids chased the cab down the street. He asked the cab driver to stop, signed autographs for them, and then drove away.
Oh, that's nice.
So,
that's great.
pretty cool. And then right after that, Steve Smith, who also played at that concert, walked out of the building. And it turns out at the time he had an apartment in the city, and which was just a few blocks from the Ritz, and ended up walking with us because our car happened to be parked near where so we walked and chatted with Steve Smith after the concert, which was
nice. He's such a super nice guy. I need to call him and get him back. I think he still lives in that same apartment. He did last time I had him on, I think, which was a few years ago. But yeah, Steve's a solid guy.
Absolutely.
And two things. One, a friend of mine met Neil by accident just walking up to do a ticket check-in at an airport, and he realized that was Neil saying next to him. He just kind of turned, he says, "Hi," and Neil went, "How you doing?" And that was it. He didn't want to bother him, and this was around the Test for Echo time, or something like that. And when you stuttered, when all you could get out was well, Rick, who I mentioned, when we saw the Test for Echo tour in Mission Bay and San Diego, we got backstage passes. My friend ran the venue at that time and everything, and we were waiting, and we were the first ones that Getty and Alex walked up to from the dressing trailer, and they came up, and my friend Rick meant to say, "Can I please get your John Hancock?" But Getty was like our Neil to him, and he said something like, "Can you put my can you please cock your hand in my John," or something that sounded almost like lewd. It was so funny, and Getty kind of giggled. He knew what he was trying to get out, and Alex just started laughing. But my other son, Alex, at the time, always he kind of got into Alex's solo album, and the song just play the guitar
Yeah,
and with
is she
his
playing
wife,
guitar or
and
something?
yeah, that gibber. He always got such a laugh out of that. So I told Alex that, and Alex Life's in that, and my son Alex was only like 8 at the time, or something like 6 or 8 or something. But it was fun meeting them. They were very nice, and that book. Going back to the book you mentioned, is so telling. There's so much other stuff in there, but also to know his history, as a child and all of that. I knew some of that, but it I didn't know it was as bad as it was. And
It's
it's,
amazing. Like I said, I thought I knew most of what there
yeah,
was to know about Rush and their background, and that book was like new information every moment.
yeah.
It was great. It was
And,
amazing.
and I knew that Alex's last name Lifeson, wasn't his birth name because of he's Serbian, but I didn't know that it was a transliteration of
Right.
his. I didn't know that I thought it was a name he made up. I really did until then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, I think his real last name is pronounced Ajinovich. It's spelled that way, anyways. Yeah. But yeah, fun stuff. Like I said, we could talk about this forever. I don't know what went on with the audio. That's something I got to look into, because we don't want that. We got some really big stuff coming up, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm not sure what that was all about. So I'll put the tech elves on the case, and Lou and I will be back again in April with the theme. Should I give away the theme?
Well, actually, we have next Sunday.
Oh, what am I saying? Yeah, this is a special episode.
Next
We've got the
Sunday.
regular Under the Influence episode next week, and that is, should we give it away?
Sure.
Okay, side men and women. So people who are more known for being session players. That'll be fun because there's so many great ones to choose from. And then next month in April the 28th, yeah, we've got Simple Grooves, I think, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Simple Grooves. So we've got like the next few months planned out, and I'm sure we'll come up with other ideas that'll complicate things.
And folks, man, if you guys have some ideas, we'd love to. You guys got some topics you'd love to see us cover or bring up for an episode? Please send them in.
Yeah, anything that has to do with the influence of not just drumming, but music. And I don't mean like Jack Daniels or weed. We're talking about music and musicians. Yeah, that just connect with either of us or comment in the episode, or whatever. But we'd love to get your thoughts as well. Cool. Lou, thanks so much for driving this one, and for such a great video. And folks,
Pleasure.
we look forward to seeing you soon. Lots of big stuff coming on Drum Talk TV. Go to drumtalktvbrilliance.com. See what we have going on. We have some live virtual concerts with big artists, live Q&As. We've got Derek Shulman coming. We're waiting for a date from John Weathers, both of Gentle Giant. Derek Shulman, of course, went on to be the A&R person and eventually CEO of different labels like Polygram, Adco, Roadrunner. He's now doing his own thing that you'll learn about, and he'll answer questions about the biz or about Gentle Giant, about prog, about music. And then we've got Oliver Wakeman, one of Rick Wakeman's sons, coming to do a combination Q&A and performance. And we've got a few others lined up. We're just doing the shell game of dates. Those are coming out, but go ahead and register. It's a membership site. Really cool stuff coming, and we'll see you soon. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.